Roughly 8%. That's the proposed property tax hike we heard from both the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul in their budget addresses this week. And that means homeowners will be spending on average $130 to $200 more a year on a median price home, depending on which part of the city you live in. There's a lot of reasons for these proposed increases, including bills coming due for a lot of public employees and programs. But city leaders have also pointed to the collapse of downtown real estate on both sides of the river, shifting more tax burden to you, the homeowner. Well, tonight, Kent talked to somebody who ran the numbers on that claim, and he was surprised by what he found.
The downtowns of each of our twin cities received a little extra attention during each mayor's budget address this week.
We're reinventing our downtown strategy to better serve all who live, work, and visit St. Paul.
The way people use downtown is changing, and so we must adapt to a new future.
Though the future is bright for downtown tourism, which has helped boost the local economy, the future of downtown work has been getting darker since the pandemic.
It's been a slow trickle.
Andrew Babula is director of the real estate program at the University of St. Thomas and says there's no doubt that as vacant offices have piled up, the values of prime downtown buildings have plummeted.
When there's vacancy, that means there's less income. And when there's less income, the values of the properties are tied to the amount of income they generate, and so the values are declining.
And he says it's true that lost value has to be made up elsewhere.
And a reduced valuation of office buildings have shifted the impact of those costs to homeowners and renters through increased property taxes.
But Babula says that alone doesn't come close to explaining the proposed 8% property tax increases.
Even though office properties are declining, it's not extremely significant.
His recent case study, Falling Valuations and the Impact on Tax Revenue, looked at some recent examples in Minneapolis. Prior to the pandemic, this is how much property value per acre was concentrated in downtown Minneapolis office towers. But since then, the highest point here, representing the Wells Fargo Tower, sold for less than half of its previous value. For his study, Babula crunched the numbers on what would happen if all downtown values were cut in half.
If all those downtown properties declined at that value, we'd see about a 1% reduction in the taxes that they would be contributing toward the city's budget. So that 1% then has to be distributed amongst all the other property owners.
Did that surprise you?
It did. It did. I expected it to be a little bit higher.
In Minneapolis alone, wages are set to increase more than 10% for parks workers, 22% for police, and 30% for public works employees in the next few years. So are costs associated with the human rights settlement and consent decrees following the murder of George Floyd.
The bigger impact is just because things have gone up in price. It's more expensive.
And while he says we should all care what happens to these downtown buildings, our future tax bills don't entirely depend on them.
Without the increased costs, I don't think homeowners would necessarily recognize or even realize that the impact that's having on their home.
So it's not all about the buildings. Both cities were able to lessen the impact of increased costs in recent years because they had federal COVID funding, but that money also going away in the coming year.